the concept which I have left in the last class. Okay, from here, that electron gain enthalpy of fluorine is less negative than compared to succeeding element, that is chlorine. Okay, so I was explaining this particular concept in the last class, a revision one. So fluorine case, fluorine atomic number is 9, and then electronic configuration comes out to be as 1s2, 2s2, and then 2p5. Okay, and in chlorine, which has atomic number 17, so when we write the electronic configuration, you get to know it is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, and then 3p5. Okay, so the question is like, why the electron gain enthalpy of fluorine is less negative than compared to chlorine. Okay, both the values are negative itself, but why that this is more negative? More negative means what? More is the ease of taking the electron. Okay, more negative. So when you hear it's more negative means more easily they take the electron. More easily, okay, electron is accepted. Electron is accepted by them. Okay, less negative. Less negative means it has a less tendency. Okay, they have less tendency to accept the electron. Okay, so that is the meaning of more negative and less negative. So here they are saying chlorine is more negative than compared to fluorine. We were expecting fluorine to have high electron gain enthalpy because they are the smaller atom. Effective nuclear charge compared to chlorine, fluorine's effective nuclear charge is higher. No, effective nuclear charge of fluorine is higher. So what we expect in reality, it was not found. Whatever we were expecting in reality, we found the opposite way. Okay, we were expecting for fluorine, but we got it for chlorine. What is the reason? You have to justify. Okay, now in the fluorine case, we get to know it has only two orbitals in the second shell, that is 2s orbital and 2p orbital, which has 5 electrons in them. Okay, so here we are having 2s electrons, 2 electrons in s orbital, and then we have altogether 5 electrons in the p orbital. And there is nothing available in the second shell. We don't have any other orbital available. Whereas in the chlorine, since the electrons are present in the third shell, two electrons are present in the 3s orbital and 5 electrons are present in 3p orbital. After that, there is another orbital present, but that is empty. Okay, here 3d orbital is also present, but then those orbitals are empty here. So when you add an electron, always there is electron and electron. Okay, when they come together, there will be repulsion. So here in the fluorine case, when a electron is accepted by the fluorine, they experience repulsion. Okay, and even chlorine is also going to experience repulsion. You will think that chlorine also, like, they have almost similar. No, the arrangement is similar. So it is not that chlorine is not going to experience repulsion. Chlorine also will experience repulsion. But the problem is, for the fluorine, they don't have any other place. Okay, they are restricted to only these two orbitals. They don't have any other place. If the electrons and electrons are getting repelled with each other, at least there should be any other orbital where they should be able to like adjust themselves. Okay, localize themselves in such a way that they can go to a maximum distance and at least stay there. Okay, that is not possible in the fluorine atom. Whereas in the chlorine atom, if you see, they are undergoing repulsion, but then there is 3d orbital which is present afterwards. Okay, and that is empty. So if they are undergoing repulsion, even though they experience interelectronic repulsion, there is 3d orbital which is available, so they can expand their orbitals, okay, little bit. So that is because of the place. So here n value is equal to 3. So due to larger space, okay, when the electrons and electrons undergo repulsion, they can maximize the distance due to the empty place available in the third shell. And the area of third shell is also larger. It is not confined to a smaller region. Here second shell will be smaller in size. Smaller size means it will be congested, but here the size will be larger. Okay, so when you see the number of electrons, which area will be more congested, you will be able to understand. No, this area is smaller. So if more people are there, it will be difficult here. Okay, whereas here if you are having like same numbers are same, okay, but the thing is this area is larger, so then they will be more relaxed and they will be able to take that electron easily, whereas this will be hesitating. They will take the electron, but then they will experience a problem of repulsion due to the small area. So the reason is because your n value is equal to 2, they experience more interelectronic repulsion. That is the reason why F value is less negative than compared to chlorine. Okay, chlorine value is more electronegative, like more negative. Electron gain enthalpy is more. Yes, it has more place available. Third shell, they have 3D orbital, no? So that is the reason if they are undergoing repulsion also, they can occupy in that particular, like they can just expand their orbital a little bit. Possible because this is empty. Here it is not possible. They can't expand their orbital because there is nothing else available for them. They are only confined to this particular orbital. Okay, only two orbitals are available. So how can they like expand their orbital? Not possible. Okay, whereas here it is possible. Because of the more space available. Okay. Yes, I'll go for the next one. Now, one more last topic which was remaining is about electronegativity. So, electronegativity and electron gain enthalpy, I have told you before also, try to differentiate both. Okay. Electronegativity means when they are held in a compound, okay, when they are bonded to some other atom. Like for example, in HCl case, okay, when especially when you are having a covalent compound, they are formed by sharing the electrons. So here H and Cl, okay, both of the atoms have formed the bond by sharing the electrons. So when they have already shared and they have formed the bond, in that case, the one which is having little more effective nuclear charge, they will have more tendency to grab that electron towards themselves. Okay, so what happens is the shared pair of electron which was supposed to be shared between both of them, that shared pair of electron will be shifted towards the electronegative atom. Okay, so this measure of ability of that atom to attract that shared pair of electron towards themselves, that if you are going to measure and calculate, that itself is called as electronegativity. Okay, so electronegativity is you have to check out how much they are able to attract that shared pair of electron towards themselves. That tendency is electronegativity. Okay, so among the halogen atom, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and then iodine, if I'm going down the series, fluorine is the one, if they are held with a bond, fluorine, you will see that they have more tendency because their effective nuclear charge is very high compared to chlorine. Fluorine has more tendency to take the electron towards themselves. Okay, just that shifting of the electron cloud will be more towards the electronegative atom. So if they ask you question about electronegativity, remember fluorine is the one, but electron gain enthalpy, answer should be chlorine. Okay, here there is one doubt. What if 2p orbital already has 4 electrons? And if we add one more electron, then will the electron gain enthalpy be less negative? Now you are trying to compare with which one? You have to compare with one element. Now see, there we had chlorine and then fluorine. Then I could tell it. Okay, now here you are saying if you have 4 electrons in the p orbital, if you add one more electron, whether their electron gain enthalpy will be higher. So it depends on you're comparing with which one. Whether it is less when you're talking about less and more, it has to be in comparison with relative to somebody, no? Suppose if you're comparing now, let's say like we are comparing with halogen. Okay, I will give one comparison. So you are saying in the 2p orbital, there are 4 electrons. Okay. Now I will compare this with the halogen atom. Let me take halogen atom. Okay. Halogen atom has electron 2p5. Correct, no? So here, who will have more tendency to take that electron towards themselves? So that will be, they should be able to take that electron easily. So that depends again on the effective nuclear charge. Who has more effective nuclear charge? Here, these will have more effective nuclear charge. So they will have, halogens will have more tendency to take the electron towards themselves. Then compared to 2p4 orbital. Okay. In electronegativity case, your doubt was this, if they have 2p4 electrons and I'm comparing with something, okay, because unless you compare, you will not be able to understand whether they will be having less or more value. So I'm comparing this with the halogen atom. So halogen atom, if you see 5 electrons are there, these has more effective nuclear charge. Okay, so if you give them 1 electron, easily they will take. Why? Because they can attain stable electronic configuration of 2p6. Easily they will accept that. And their effective nuclear charge is also very high. Okay, so then they take that electron easily. Whereas this will be less negative and that will be more negative. This 2p5 orbital will be more negative. I hope it's clear, no? Yes. Good. Yes, now a variation of this electronegativity, how does it vary across the period? These trends are similar, so I will not go to explain, across the period. Across the period, as you know, effective nuclear charge is increasing and then radius is decreasing. Radius is decreasing, so yeah, electronegativity value also should increase because this is again related to each other. Okay, they are directly related to each other. More is the effective nuclear charge, more is the electronegativity. Down the group, if you are going down the group, yes, down the group, effective nuclear charge is decreasing. Okay, and the radii is increasing, so radius is increasing, so then we see that electronegativity also decreases. Very good. Yes. Okay. So this much is enough because the trends are similar, no? Only the ionic radii trend is different. Okay. Rest all the trends are going in a similar fashion. But you just remember what are the properties you are talking about. What do you mean by electronegativity? That should be very clear. What do you mean by electron gain enthalpy? What do you mean by ionization enthalpy? So if you know that things, okay, then things like you can explain what happens to the various trend across the period and down the group with a reason. Because they are, yeah, correct. They are directly related to, all these are directly related to effective nuclear charge. Electronegativity is related. Okay. Yes, next, this everything I've combined together. Atomic radius, you see, they are decreasing. And then ionization enthalpy, electronegativity, and electron gain enthalpy. Okay, this is about electron gain enthalpy. All these three are just increasing. Okay, only atomic radius is the one which is decreasing. And down the group, you see atomic radius is increasing, rest everything is decreasing. Reasons are same. Okay, wherever you are going to explain this, reason is same. Effective nuclear charge. You need to talk about effective nuclear charge. You need to talk about the radii for these three. Okay, these three you can mention the radius part also. Enough. So much if you explain is enough, students. 3 marks you will get there. Okay, one definition and then how does it change. Okay, next was about anomalous properties of the second period element compared to the other elements. What are the different properties these elements are showing? Okay, second period element is lithium, and then we have beryllium, boron, carbon we have. Okay, below this, below lithium you have sodium, then we have magnesium, aluminium, and then silicon. Okay, what has been found is lithium was supposed to show most of the properties similar to the sodium, but then it is found that lithium is showing some properties which are similar to magnesium. Okay, they are showing certain properties which is similar to the magnesium, and beryllium is also showing properties which are similar to aluminium, and then even here boron is showing, boron and silicon, both of them are showing almost properties which are similar to each other. So why is that happening? The reason will be why they are showing similar property, because as you go down the group, the size here, the sodium size is larger, but then as you go across the period, the size is decreasing. So what has been found is lithium and magnesium sizes are almost similar. Size and then charge ratio. Okay, if you take charge of the lithium and if you take the size, you divide both of them, you will see that their charge and size ratio, that is mass ratio. Okay, mass means size only. Oh, I'm talking about the size. Okay, so charge by mass ratio of both of them, if you're going to measure, it is found to be similar. Okay, for both of them it is found to be similar. So that is one reason. And the one more reason is down the group, electronegativity is decreasing, but across the period, electronegativity increases. Compared to lithium and sodium, lithium is more electronegative, okay? But between sodium and magnesium, magnesium is more electronegative, correct? No? So that is the reason now here, see, both of them are having same kind of electronegativity. So electronegativity value is also very higher between these elements which are placed diagonal to each other. So they have high electronegativity. So this is again one more reason for them to show the properties. Okay, these properties are called as anomalous property, and the relationship is called as diagonal relationship. This relationship is called as diagonal relationship. Now, what do you mean by diagonal relationship? The elements which are placed in the second period, okay, they start showing properties similar to the elements which are placed in the third period diagonally to each other, okay, which are placed diagonally to each other in the third period. Even though they belong to different group, they are showing similar properties. Such relationship are called as diagonal relationship. Okay, and reason I have given here because of their charge to mass ratio and because of the high electronegativity. Yes, it is happening because of their electronegativity and the size and charge ratio. Yeah, most of the elements second and third only. Okay, it has been found. Now, lithium, when they combine with chloride, lithium chloride is quite deliquescent. Deliquescent means they absorb water. Even magnesium chloride is found to absorb water. Beryllium, no. Beryllium, they are quite inert in nature. On their surface, you will find an oxide layer being formed. So, like that, only even aluminium is found to have a formation of an oxide layer. Okay, only with the first elements. These different kind of properties are most of the time shown by the first elements which are present in the periodic table. So diagonal to that, whichever element is present, they will show this property. Then we don't find anywhere else much of these properties getting repeated. Okay, only with these second and the third period elements. Okay. So you can remember which are the elements which will show diagonal relationship: lithium, magnesium, beryllium, aluminium, boron and silicon. So chemical properties are found to be almost similar in them. Yeah, and next is about the metallic and non-metallic character. I think this you will be able to tell me if you know electronegativity. If you have understood electronegativity, you can tell what happens to the metallic and non-metallic character. Metals are over here. First group and second group elements are metals. Okay. Metal means what? Metal means the one who can lose the electron very easily. So these elements which are placed in the first and the second group, they are more metallic in nature because they have one or two electrons to present. So they have easy tendency to lose that electron. Okay. So they are more metallic in nature and their ionization enthalpy is also very low. I'm talking about the first group element is having the lowest ionization enthalpy compared to any other element. And here, this side, the blue ones you can see, these are the non-metal part. Okay. Between them, this is transition elements that properties are intermediate between the S block and the P block elements. So metals, you remember, they have more tendency to lose the electron. Non-metals, they have more easy tendency to gain the electron because they can complete their octet only by gaining the electron. For them, losing becomes little difficult because their electrons are either 5, 6 or then 7 in their outermost shell. So easily they will try to take the electron. So non-metals you will find they will try to gain the electron, and metals usually they have tendency to lose the electrons. And then you need to remember, and metalloids, what are metalloids? Metalloids are the ones which have properties intermediate between the metal and the non-metal. Okay, their properties are in between. Like these are the one which shaded in the yellow color. These are the metalloids one. Okay, their properties are intermediate. And then students, the important thing is when they combine with the oxygen. See, metals, when they combine with the oxygen, they form metal oxide. Okay. So they form metallic oxide, they form metallic oxides. Now these metallic oxides which are formed, these are basic in nature. Okay, these are also called as basic oxides. These are basic in nature. You can check out the properties of their basic character. How will you check out their basic character? By making them to react with water. Okay, so metals, when they react with oxygen, these are called as metallic oxides, or they are called as basic oxides. And these basic oxide, when they react with water, they will form hydroxide. Okay, so they form metal hydroxides. They form metal hydroxide, and metal hydroxide, you know, they can release OH minus ion in the solution. So they will turn the litmus paper color. Okay, from red to blue, the color will change because they are basic. So you can remember, blue will be the color change happening. And that is because of release of OH minus ion in the solution. So for example, now sodium oxide, if you take, sodium oxide is basic in nature. Magnesium oxide we have, because all of them, when they combine with water, they will form hydroxide, and those hydroxide can show the color change. From red litmus to blue, the color change can happen. Okay, and then non-metals, when they combine with oxygen, okay, they form non-metallic oxides. They form non-metallic oxides, and these non-metallic oxides are acidic in nature. Okay, these are also called as acidic oxides. You can find out this by putting them into the water. So when they are dissolved in the water, they are able to form acids. Okay, so they give rise to acids. In the solution, they will give rise to acids. Okay, so acids are formed. Yeah, and acids, you know, they can release H plus ion in the solution. Okay, very good. So this is the one. And then we have one more type of oxides. They are called as amphoteric oxides. Amphoteric oxides are the one which shows behavior of, like, when they are made to react with acid, they react like a base. They act like a base. And when they are made to react with the base, they act like an acid. That means their behavior is two-way. They can act as acid, they can act as well as base. Okay, they can act as acid as well as base to form salt and water. Okay, so such type of oxides are called as amphoteric oxide. So aluminium oxide is one category, aluminium oxide. Then arsenic oxide is also there. Zinc oxide you have studied. Okay, these are the oxide which can behave in two way. Okay, their behavior can be in the form of acid. They can even behave like a base. Okay. No, not when they are dissolved in water. Amphoteric oxide, when they are made to react with acid and base. Suppose if I am taking now aluminium oxide and I am going to make them to react with acid. So when they are in the presence of acid, what they do is they act like a base. Suppose if I take now aluminium oxide with the base, in that condition, this aluminium oxide will act as acid. Okay. So their behavior is two-way. Yes, very good. So it depends on whose company they are present. Depending on that, they change their behavior. They get adjusted to a different behavior. Okay, so they can change their behavior. In the presence of acid, they are base. In the presence of base, they are acid. Okay, those are amphoteric oxides. Yes, students, so this much would be enough for you for classification of elements. You have anything to ask? Let me know, or else I will continue with the next. Clear, no? Yes, Bohr's atomic model you need to study. Yeah, I will go for that, okay? I'll start with the next one, structure of atom. I hope classification part you don't have many issues because chapter is itself very small. And questions, I said it will be a direct question like this. From here you can expect, okay, when metal See here, what question they can ask you, what type of oxides are formed when right side elements are combined with oxygen? Right side element means which side? The halogen side. Okay, right side element means p block elements. Can you tell me what will be the answer for it? What type of oxides are formed when right side elements, that is halogens, I am giving you that they are halogens, when they combine with the oxygen, what type of oxides will be formed? Yes, non-metallic or also called as acidic oxide. You write both the names, okay? Acidic oxide also you mention in the bracket. And if they tell you the left side element, then you remember it should be a metal, and metal when they combine with the oxygen, they form basic oxides. Okay, one more question, students. Can you answer this? I have explained during the class. Helium should be S block element. Helium, because you know electronic configuration is. I'll change this. Wait 1 minute. So you know electronic configuration is 1s2. Okay. So helium should be S block element as per the electronic configuration. But it is placed in P block with the noble gases. What is the reason for it? If you want, I'll repeat the question. Yes, very good. I've got answer. I'll repeat the question, okay, for others. See, helium should be the S block element as per the electronic configuration. Electronic configuration is this 1s2, okay, but they are placed in P block. Okay, what is the reason for this? They are placed in P block. Yes, very good. Correct. The answer is because, yeah, you have given me the answer, most of them. Yeah, correct. Because they have stable electronic configuration. 1s2 configuration, it's a stable electronic configuration. So they exhibit the property of noble gas. Okay. Their properties are similar to the noble gas. So that is the reason why they are placed over there. Okay. Based on their properties, they are placed there, not because of the configuration. Okay. Their properties are similar. And always when we place the elements in the column, no, you have seen these elements are placed. The reason is because their properties are found to be similar. Okay, most of the properties are matching with each other, so that is the reason, no, why lithium, below that you find sodium, and then potassium, because chemically you see them, they are same. Okay, so even here the reason is that only. Very good. So if you want, you can write down there only. The reason is because they are having completely filled electronic configuration, stable electronic configuration, and they exhibit the properties of noble gases. Okay, because helium has completely filled 1s2 electronic configuration, and as a result they exhibit properties of noble gas. Metal oxide with hydrogen if you take metal oxide with hydrogen, It depends on the condition also, okay? There are chances they can even form metal. But metal, if you want metal hydroxide, see, metal with water will give you metal hydroxide. I'll just write M. Metal, when they are reacting with water, okay, highly reactive metal. If you want metal hydroxide to be formed, metal, highly reactive metal with water can form metal hydroxide. Yeah, metal oxide also can form. Metal oxide with water also can form metal hydroxide. This is one way they can form. Even metal oxide, if you take with water, they can also form hydroxide. They do form hydroxide. Yes, we'll go for next one, I think, students. So in structure of atom, I have told you that the structure of atom, no initial things you don't have to study. Before that, I didn't had a blueprint. So I have given you the explanation for everything, how the discovery of electron was done, how the discovery of proton was done. Okay. And then we had all the details, no? How the cathode rays, anode rays, and everything was produced. Okay. So all that is not required. Okay. From your exam point of view, what you can study is only so much. Okay. What are the subatomic particles and who discovered them? You can remember. Okay, so subatomic particles, in the atom, we have electrons and then protons and then neutrons. Who discovered them? You remember. Electron was discovered by J.J. Thomson. Need not study J.J. Thomson's model of an atom. Okay, so that you can skip. Even the proton discovery was done by Ernest Goldstein. Okay, and then neutron was discovered by James Chadwick. So here, whatever discovery thing what I've done, no, in explanation part which I have given to you, that you can skip. Okay, because for your syllabus, it is not there. This year, it is not there. From your board exam point of view, okay. If you are preparing for competitive exam, then you need to study everything. Yeah, okay, one doubt here. Why metals they form basic oxide? Why metals are forming basic oxide? Because the reason is metal have more tendency to lose the electron. Okay, that is because of their electropositive character. Metal, because they have electropositive character, they are forming basic oxides. And non-metals, they form acidic oxide because they have more electronegative character. So that is the reason. Okay. Yeah, it is inverse. Metal and non-metal characteristics are opposite to each other. Yes. Now in this, after that, students, after in the structure of atom, at least remember the discovery part of it. Then after that, atomic number you can go through. You know what is atomic number? No, I'll just revise all this. Okay. The small concepts which are there. No, I'll just keep on revising. And then if you have doubt, you can ask me. Okay. You know what is atomic number? Number of protons present in the nucleus of the atom or the number of electrons. Okay. Electrons, when you are writing, don't write nucleus because electrons, they are present in the extranuclear region. So you can write any of the definition if they ask you what is atomic number, and atomic number is denoted, it is denoted by the symbol Z. Okay, so this is the symbol what we use for atomic number. It is either the number of protons or the number of electrons. If you are writing protons, you write in the nucleus, and electrons, they are present in the extranuclear region. And then what are mass numbers? Mass number is because of two things. Okay, it is because of the number of protons and the number of neutrons which are present in the nucleus of the atom. Okay, so protons and neutrons together, we combine them together and we also call them as nucleons. Okay, the number of protons and neutrons are also called as nucleons. So you can even write it is the number of nucleons which are present in the nucleus of the atom. Okay. So mass number is denoted by the symbol A. And how to calculate this mass number? Before that, I will go for general representation. Okay. So generally, when you are representing A to Z, A you write up and then Z you write it below. So here this A stands for mass number. Mass number is always higher. Okay. And this Z stands for atomic number. Okay. So Z is for atomic number. So here A is the mass number, Z is the atomic number, X is the symbol of this particular element. Any element when you are representing, see that you write in the capital letter. Okay. And how to calculate this? How to calculate the mass number? I'll write at this side here. Okay. Mass number is made up of two things. So if I have to write here A, mass number, A is equal to, it is because of protons and it is because of neutrons. So I can write here Z plus N, correct, no? So if I want to calculate now number of neutrons, number of neutrons, then it will be A minus Z. Okay, neutrons you can calculate using this. So remember, A is equal to Z plus N. So mass number A is equal to, it is number of protons plus number of neutrons. And using this, interchange this itself and calculate the number of neutrons also. So here are a few questions you can expect from these formulas. So here one question I've taken here. See, I will give you a problem. You can tell me what are the number of protons and neutrons present in the few species which I'm going to give it to you. So for example, if I give you now C613, can you tell me how many neutrons, how many protons are there in this? Work out and let me know. Okay, what is the answer? I want most of them to answer this. Yes. The number of protons and number of neutrons. And in case if they ask you electrons, protons and electron numbers are same. Yes, answer. Only few are there who are answering. Others also, I am expecting the answer from everybody. Yes, very good. So in the first case, what you find here, first one, 6 is the atomic number, correct? No, so number of proton also should be 6. You see this number, okay? So this itself is a number of proton. And how to calculate the neutron? A larger minus a smaller number, okay? 13 minus 6. So 13 minus 6 will give you the number of neutron ratio. So that will be 7. So n is equal to 7. Good. Okay, so your answers are correct. 6 and 7 is the answer. 6 is the number of proton and 7 is the number of neutron. And in this case, magnesium case, Yeah, correct. 12, the number which is written below, that itself is a atomic number, correct? No, so proton number is equal to atomic number. So proton is 12 and 24 minus 12. 24 minus 12 will give you number of neutrons. So that is also equal to 12. Okay, yes. Now, I will give you the mass number and the atomic number. You have to tell me what will be the symbol of that particular element. Okay, you try to tell me what will be that particular element. I've told you from 1 to 20 at least you need to remember. Other than that, they will give you, for other elements, if they have to show you the representation, they will give you the number of protons and this ratio, okay, if it is higher. But at least 20 you remember. So now your next job is, I am giving you the atomic number and the mass number. You have to tell me now which element is this. Just tell me the element name. You know how to write that, you will be able to represent, no? A should come first above and Z should come below. Yes. Correct. Beryllium is the atom. Correct, no? Beryllium, okay? Beryllium is the 4. 4 is the atomic number and 4 atomic number is beryllium. So how will you represent beryllium? Be. 4 you write below and 9 you write above. Yeah, neutron number is 5. Correct. From this, if they ask you what is the number of electrons, protons, proton is 4, electron is also 4, and the neutron number is 5. Okay, higher minus the lower number. You subtract. Okay, next are isotopes. What are the isotopes? Isotopes are atoms of the same element having identical atomic number, but then you will find that they are having different mass number. Okay, atomic numbers are same. The number which we write below, those numbers you will find as same, but then they are having a different mass number. For example, you can see here chlorine. Chlorine atom we have taken here as the example. So chlorine atomic number, both of the chlorine atom atomic number is 17. Okay, but then mass numbers are different. Hydrogen also, see, atomic numbers are same, but then they are having different mass number. Carbon also, you can remember at least 1 or 2 example. Okay, carbon also has different isotopes. With 6 is the atomic number, 12, 13 and 14 is the mass number of that. Okay, then we have isobars. Isobars are the one which are having, you can see the mass numbers are same here. Okay, carbon is having 14 and nitrogen is also having 14 is the mass number, but the one which are different, okay, the one which is different over here is the atomic number. Both are having same mass number, but then they are having different atomic number. Such type of atoms of different elements, they are called as isobars.